Begin with the headlines. Senate threatens ministries, departments, and agencies with zero allocation. Nigerians' oil production climbs to 1.6 million barrels per day plus. China loosens strict COVID-19 restrictions. Many thanks for joining us. Now the Nigerian Senate is threatening to give zero allocation to ministries, departments and agencies who have refused to appear before its Committee on Public Account to defend their budget. Now, President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, made the declaration on Wednesday during plenary. Lawan further warned that the MDAs have 1 week to appear before the Matthew-led committee and defend their 2022 budget performance as well as their 2023 estimates of risk zero allocation in 2023.
That in the management of public finance, to which of course we have been appointed to perform our role in ensuring transparency and accountability in spending public money. By way of this, anything that is appropriated by the Senate, of course that borders on public funds, utilization of public funds, this committee has been mandated to look into it by inviting MDAs and persons that are charged with the responsibility of approving public funds for expenditure.
Now, the Senate President went on to reel out the names of the erring MDAs, numbering over 100, with a warning to appear accordingly to be scrutinized. Lawan's decision followed a complaint by Emmanuel that heads of the aforementioned MDAs have refused to appear despite several invitations.
Any public officer who accepts to serve and utilizes public fund appropriated by the National Assembly must be prepared to account before the National Assembly. And any officer who feels he or she is above the law should quit.
Now, some of the affected agencies include the Office of the Accountant General, Ministries of Finance, Interior and Health, States House, AMI, EFAS, Police, NEMA, AMCON, NIWA, among others. Now, the Senate has raised concerns about the latest Central Bank of Nigeria policy on cash withdrawals. Senate Minority Leader Philip Aduda, in a point of order during plenary on Wednesday, called the attention of his colleagues to the new policy and demanded for caution as it will affect many Nigerians, especially small business owners. In his response, Senate President Ahmad Lawan cautions the CBN not to approach the policy by jumping into it at once, as many Nigerians will be affected. He further noted that there is a need to engage the CBN in discussions to get more details of the policy, and he directed the Committee on Banking to discuss this matter during the screening of the CBN Deputy Governors expected to hold before next week. The Senate has set next Tuesday to debate the new CBN policy. Now, ahead of the 2023 general elections, the chief whip of the Senate, Uzo Kalu, has warned spokesperson of presidential candidate of the leading political parties against trivialities and politics bitterness. Now, Kalu, who made the admonition while fielding questions from journalists in his office on Wednesday, said spokesperson of presidential candidates of the leading political parties are not addressing issues as regards aspirations of their principles. Rather, they are dwelling on frivolous matters and tribal issues, thereby truncating the democratic process.
But our own is to do the campaign, do the marketing, but what I'm seeing is not a good marketing. What I'm seeing is backlashing. This spokesman will come and talk rubbish, another spokesman will talk another one will talk another. That is not what people's democracy look like. People's democracy is about what we can do for the people. And I want you people to carry this message very strong, because they are demarketing democratic process.
On the performance of the outgoing president, Buhari and the government and his led government, Kalu said the administration has scored high in certain areas while it's equally failed in other areas, just like any government across the globe. Leadership, according to him, is like an exchange of batons in a race where every participant is expected to play his or her role and go.
Very well, but President Buhari and his team have tried their best. Government is a baton. He runs and gives back the baton to the other. God creates many leaders for a purpose. If any leader comes and achieves his own purpose, he goes, another one will come. And that is how it is.
He, however, boasted that as far as Abia North Senatorial District is concerned, no other candidate is on ground apart from him, saying in 2023 it will be Kalu versus Kalu in the zone. Now, a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, presided over by Justice Turaki Muhammad, has dismissed a suit brought against the All Progressive Congress by the People's Democratic Party. In its suit, the PDP had prayed that the court to nullify the candidacy of all the legislative candidates running in the platform of the APC in the states on the ground that their primaries were not monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission and that they failed to comply with the Electoral Act. The court, however, dismissed the case, citing a lack of jurisdiction based on an earlier judgment by the Court of Appeal, which barred political parties from interfering in the internal affairs of other parties. Speaking to journalists after the court decision, counsel to the APC, Ebethe, hailed this decision. Emenike Ebethe hailed the decision, calling it a victory for justice. According to him, the APC candidates are now free to campaign across Rivers State without fear. However, counsel to the PDP, DK Udenna, declined to comment on the decision. Now, UNICEF has warned that over 300,000 children may die of severe acute malnutrition in the Northeast if actions are not taken urgently. The new UNICEF representative in Nigeria disclosed this during a media chat to journalists in Maiduguri. She stressed that about 3 million boys and 3 million boys, girls and adolescents across the state of Borno, Adamawa and Yobe are suffering acute malnutrition. Now, she added that only 29% of schools have teachers with minimum level of teaching qualification. She further revealed that 1.9 million children still do not have access to education, and it's disturbed that malnourished children are high risk of deaths if not addressed urgently.
Women having 7 children per woman, and without no economic means to provide them a future, right? So that is why it is important that both girls and boys have access to school so they can prepare themselves to life. Total number of teachers that we are more or less on the number of 124 children per teacher. That is not humanly possible, right?
Now, in commemoration of the 16 days of activism, state accountability, transparency, and effectiveness, State-to-State Activity, a United States Agency for International Development USAID funded project, has embarked on a 2-day symposium on ending gender-based violence against women and girls in Bauchi State. The symposium, which has the global theme Orange the World, End Violence Against Women and Girls, centers on increasing funding to be able to address cases of gender-based violence, as well as increase participation of various stakeholders to support survivors of gender-based violence. Our Bauchi State correspondent Hawa Hassan completes the story.
Issue of gender-based violence. We have a lot of cases on ground that are unattended because of funding.
Various stakeholders are striving to find a lasting solutions to the cases of gender-based violence, but funding is one of the major factors which serves as a stumbling block to the success of the efforts being put in place by the concerned bodies. This, among other issues, is what the State Accountability, Transparency and Effectiveness State-to-State Activity, a USAID-funded program, seeks to address in commemoration of the 16th Day of Activism on this two-day symposium.
So if we want to end gender-based violence, we need to look at the issue of funding, increasing funding to respond to the issue of gender-based violence.
Say no to physical abuse. Say no to emotional abuse. Say no to all forms of violence. Break the silence.
The Bauchi State Ministry of Women Affairs and Child Development, on its part, has been supportive to any move geared towards addressing issues around gender-based violence.
We are collaborating. The door of the ministry is open for collaboration to each and every organization with a zeal to promote the cause of women in the state. So for that reason, we facilitated for the establishment of the structures that will mitigate or interrogate and checkmate the scourge of GBV in the state.
Earlier in her welcome address, Team Lead of State-to-State Mrs. Rabi Ekele reassures commitment to supporting any fight against GBV.
We are totally against gender-based violence, and we will always, not just in days like this, but every other time we implement our intervention, either at the state level, at the local government level, at the community level, within the office, will ensure that whatever we do not do any harm to anyone.
The symposium features a drama presentation by young mediators.
You mean that boy touched you? Yes, ma. I think you that issue to me. No, my friend said I shouldn't tell anybody else. Calm down, calm down.
Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, when News Law returns, Viewer Television's Darkus Bello has won Best TV Reporter while representing Nigeria and the Open Forum on Agriculture Biotechnology Media Awards held in Abuja. Now, details of these and more comes to you right after the break. Just stay tuned. What news matters the most to you? Is it the news that hits close to home, or the news that touches your community, your security, or your future?
No matter what the news is, we got you covered.
We are here to ensure you are informed about what's coming your way.
Expecting that maybe government will do something.
This is the place to find out, because it is your voice and your news.
Viewer Television News, giving you your voice.
Well, welcome back. If it is joining us, this is this live on Viewer Television. Now let's take a recap of our top stories. Senate threatens ministries, departments, and agencies with zero allocations. Nigerian oil production climbs to 1.6 million barrels per day. China loosens strict COVID-19 restrictions. Now, history has been made in Adamawa State as the Federal Medical Center Hong officially opens for operations to the general public. Now, dignitaries and community members gathered to witness the epoch-making event. The Federal Medical Center, which was in Yola, was recently moved to Hong after the conversations with Modibo Adamawa University to a conventional institution. The managing director of the institution, Professor Yakubu, said the hospital will ease the difficulties faced by the people of the northern part of Adamawa, Borno, and some parts of Chad and Cameroon Republic. He noted that the hospital, which was upgraded in 2020, was well equipped and has state-of-the-art facilities to provide effective and efficient service to the people of the area. Also speaking, the member representing the Gombe Hong Federal Constituency and the House of Representatives, who sponsored the bill for the establishment of the health center, said the hospital will bring succor to his constituents.
The medical center is located in the northeastern Nigeria, where public health challenges continue to increase, with rapid population growth, increasing movement of people, and destruction of infrastructure by insurgency. The establishment of this center will surely ease the difficulty faced by populace in accessing health care by a large number of people residing in the northern and the southern part of Adamawa and Borno State respectively, and also including the neighboring countries of Cameroon and Chad, who have to travel for a minimum of 120 kilometers to access a tertiary health care. The center will thus provide a high quality care with a comprehensive range of services that is convenient, timely, affordable, regardless of the ability to pay during emergency.
Health services is one of the very most important things that will happen for the life of our people. I know we used to take our patients to Federal Medical Center Yola. In fact, we used to take corpses to Federal Medical Center Yola before burial, but from today it has come to an end.
Still in Adamawa State, the Secretary of the Adamawa State Government, Engineer Bashir Ahmed, has called on colleges and educations across the country to prioritize the training and retraining of teachers to ensure quality teaching in schools. Now, the SSG made the call during the opening ceremony of the 15th National Conference and the launching of the 14th edition of the Sahel Journal of Teacher Education at the Federal College of Education, Yola. He said the conference tagged a paradigm shift in teacher education for social cohesion, national development, and productivity in the 21st century is timely and will help in providing solutions to some of the problems and challenges of the education sector. Now, Engineer Ahmed added that no meaningful society can develop with quality teachers and conducts conducive teaching and learning environments.
Would meaningfully progress above the level of education of the citizens. So if we aspire to develop and catch up with any society that we consider advanced for us to catch up with, we must therefore continue to prioritize education. We must train, retrain, and inculcate good values and cultures in our teachers. These are the pillars that will move education in its right direction.
It's very clear we have issues with regards to youth development, national development, and education is the answer. That's why for us to is organizing this conference and have selected a theme that is very relevant. Over the years, we have been talking about functional education. Not only to come and learn, obtain the certificate and go, but also acquire the skills to be able to solve a problem. So we have so many problems now, but we have few people that can solve the problem. So shifting to problem-solving techniques in teaching and learning, and especially starting with teacher education, we have taken the right step in the right direction.
Now, amidst security challenges prevailing in several parts of Kaduna State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai has assured 7 CAP members in a state of adequate security with a peaceful, rewarding and fruitful sojourn throughout the service year in Kaduna State. The governor made this known through the Permanent Secretary Human Services and Social Development Joseph Stephen at the official opening and swearing-in ceremony of the 2022 Batch C Stream 2 orientation course.
Is to be law-abiding as they have taken the oath of allegiance, and they should comply by it in toto to integrate freely without fear or favor, because government is so much concerned about their security, and government has been doing its best to ensure that they are secure wherever they may be serving in the state.
While the National Youth Service Scheme remained a platform to forge a much-needed understanding amongst the numerous and divergent ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, Kaduna State government, over time on its own, has put in place enduring policies to ensure that CAP members have comfortable and stress-free rotation exercise and service year. Now, Viewer Television's Dakas Bello has won Best TV Reporter while representing Nigeria in the Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology Media Awards held in Abuja. The award seeks to celebrate agricultural science reporters across Africa. The reports.
To unveil the winner in the person of Bello, and I'm sure nobody will respond, but Dokas Bello.
Dokas Bello from Nigeria.
This is to Nigeria.
This is to Nigeria.
And it is to every storyteller who is putting on efforts, especially to tell science stories. Because, to be honest, we've been trained, but it's still confusing. So this is an encouragement, and I promise to groom more people to get this, because we will sustain this by God's grace.
Sitting here are journalists across 10 African countries alongside stakeholders of agricultural biotechnology, and it is that time of the year where journalists across Africa are awarded for balance, consistency, and accuracy in reporting agricultural biotechnology despite its complexities.
They all must celebrate the critical role played by journalists in promoting constructive dialogue on modern biotechnology through responsible, professional, ethical, and effective reporting.
Also speaking, the Vice-Chancellor of the Federal University, Kashiri Gombe State, Professor Umaru Pate, urged science journalists to fight misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation about agricultural biotechnology through well-researched, factual, and evidence-based reports.
What we do in the media is about information dissemination. And for communication, what is information? Information for us in the media means uncertainty reduction. When you reduce the level of uncertainty that exists on the mind of people, you are informing them. If you don't, you are misinforming them, malinforming them.
The Director General of the National Biotechnology Development Agency, NABDA, Professor Abdullahi Mustafa, says Nigeria remains committed to deploying science and technology as one of the anchors of the nation's quest to accelerate its developments.
The federal government of Nigeria is bold about its commitment to deploy science and technology as one of the anchors of the nation's quest to accelerate its development. To demonstrate how committed Nigeria is, the government, first of all, established the National Biotechnology Development Agency in 2001 under the aegis of Federal Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation.
Dorcas is a winner. Congratulations. Dorcas.
Now, the Congress of University Academics has expressed its dissatisfaction with the federal government, particularly the Ministry of Labor and Employment, for failing to pay withheld salaries to its members, even when the government knew that the union did not call for strike action and its members were not involved in the strike action that lasted for 8 months and shut down the university system nationwide. Now, they noted in a statement that it was incorrect for the federal government to group the association with members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities who went on an 8-month strike between February and October 2022. The statement was signed by the National President, Secretary and Publicity Secretary Niyi Henry and Ernest Nwoke. The new union of lecturers is therefore considering dragging the government to court for withholding its members' salaries. You're still watching NewsLab and Viewer Television. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, business, international and entertainment news comes to you. So stay tuned.
Souls came together. Came together. Two souls came together.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
And on business news, President Muhammadu Buhari has written the Senate seeking the screening and reconfirmation of some former deputy governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, Buhari's request was contained in a letter read on the floor of the Senate during Tuesday's plenary by Senate President Ahmad Lawan. He sought the reconfirmation of Aisha Ahmed and Edward Adamu as deputy governors in CBN.
In accordance with the provisions of Section 8, Subsection 1, and 2 of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Establishment Act 2007, I have the pleasure to forward here with names of Mrs. Aisha Ndanusa Ahmad and Edward Lemtek Adamu for confirmation by the Senate as deputies governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria for the second and final term.
Similarly, in another letter, the President also wrote the Senate seeking full screening and subsequent confirmation of Ayuba from the Federal Capital Territory as member of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has ordered deposit money banks and other financial institutions to ensure that weekly over-the-counter cash withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities do not exceed 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively. Now, the Apex Bank made this known on Tuesday in a circular signed by CBN Director of Banking Supervision, Haruna Mustafa. The Apex Bank said the regulatory directive take effect nationwide from January 9, 2023. The CBN further fixed daily maximum withdrawals via point-of-sale terminal at 20,000 naira. Now, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele had on October 26, 2022, announced the redesigning of the three banknotes, saying the new and existing currencies will remain legal tender and circulate together until January 31, 2023. And on crude oil production, Nigeria's crude oil production is recovering, climbing back to about 1.6 million barrels, the government has said. Now, the Chief Upstream Investment Officer of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Upstream Investment Management Services, Bala Wunti, said these are the 11th practical Nigerian content forum in Oyo, Akwa Ibom State. He said Nigeria's oil production as of Tuesday was 1.6 million barrels per day from 937,000 barrels per day reported in September. Now, Wunti maintained that output increase was as a result of the government's rectangular approach to the fight against crude oil theft. Earlier, at the September Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting, an NNPCL presentation indicated that Nigeria lost as much as 8.14 million barrels in August. Now, the United Nations, through its Food and Agriculture Organization, in partnership with the federal government, has selected 13 states for intervention with respect to the production of a few crops such as rice, sorghum, soybean, etc., and dairy. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mahmoud Abubakar disclosed this in a speech at the official inauguration of the National Steering Committee on the FAO Hand in Hand initiative in Nigeria. In his speech, he notes that the selection of state for the intervention was based on their potentials for import substitution, export promotion, comparative advantage, social inclusion, and demand gap on the national, continental, and global scale. The community of East African states have revealed that armed groups and the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo will hold peace talks in January in Eastern Republic of Congo following 3 previous meetings in Kenya. This announcement was made at the end of the 3rd session of the Inter-Congolese Dialogue, which brought together for 8 days in Nairobi representatives of some 50 armed groups, the government and civil society. Now, the M23 rebellion, which is leading an offensive in the east of the country and which describes as a terrorist movement, is not participating in these discussions. This 3rd meeting is being held at a time of renewed violence in Eastern Republic of Congo with an offensive by the M23, which was accused on Monday of having massacred about 300 civilians in late November. Now, China has announced the nationwide loosening of COVID-19 restrictions following protests against the hardline strategy that grew into calls for greater political freedoms. The anger over China's zero-COVID policy, which involved mass lockdowns, constant testing and quarantine even for people who are not infected, sparked unrest not seen since the 1989 pro-democracy protests. Under the new guidelines announced by the National Health Commission, the frequency and scope of PCR testing, long of tedious mainstay of life in zero-COVID China, will be reduced. Now, lockdowns will also be scaled down and people with non-severe COVID cases can isolate at home instead of centralized government facilities. Now, the United States is not encouraging Ukraine to attack Russian targets beyond its borders. A State Department spokesperson disclosed after 2 days of what appeared to be Ukrainian drone strikes on military bases deep within Russian territory. Washington has resisted requests from Kiev to provide Ukraine with long-range weapons like missiles and fighter jets just that would be capable of reaching deep into Russia. Price cautioned that he was not aware of any official claims of responsibility for the drone attacks that have been widely attributed to Ukraine. He said that the United States was focused on the goal of helping Ukraine recover territory seized by Russian forces.
Weapons that it is to use inside of Russia. We've been very clear that these are defensive supplies. The president said very clearly some time ago, we are not enabling Ukraine to strike beyond its borders. We are not encouraging Ukraine to strike beyond its borders. Everything we are doing, everything the world is doing to support Ukraine is in support of Ukraine's independence, its sovereignty, its territorial integrity.
Now, more than 150 people were slightly injured on Wednesday when one train ran into the back of another at a station near Barcelona, authorities and Spain's rail operators said. The SEM Regional Emergency Service said the train had been moving very slowly when the collision occurred just before 8 a.m., with most people suffering bumps and bruises. Speaking to reporters at the scene, a spokesman for the Regional Fire Service said the moving train had collided with the back part of a stationary train at Morcandao Station, which lies between 10 kilometers north of Barcelona. He said those taken for further treatment were being checked at a local health center to rule out any fractures. Rail traffic along the line was suspended for several hours in both directions and had opened an investigation into what happened, he said. And on entertainment news, popular Nigerian musician Oladapo Oyebanji, popularly known as the Banj, has been arrested and detained by Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. According to reports, the musician was arrested and detained on Tuesday after ICPC operatives closed in on him, forcing him to surrender himself at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. The pop star is accused of fraudulently diverting hundreds of naira earmarked by the Nigerian government for the N-Power project, an empowerment program set up by the Nigerian government in 2016. Investigators allege that the bunch colluded with some compromised government officials to introduce ghost beneficiaries into the payroll of the scheme. Now, Afrobeat megastar Burna Boy is set to drop a music video for his single Whiskey, which will come in the form of a documentary. Burna Boy has posted a promotional clip of the documentary, which he is set to release on Thursday, 8th December 2022. The documentary is set to highlight the environmental degradation of the Niger Delta due to oil exploration, but the latest being the soup problem that's confronting the region. Burna Boy has been an advocate for the people of the Niger Delta, and he has used his songs to draw attention to the region's situation. And his Grammy-winning album Twice the Stall, he recorded Monsters You Made, which highlighted the militancy created due to decades of neglect and failed promises. Whiskey joins Burna Boy list of songs that calls for equality and good governance in Nigeria. Now, the Theatre, Art and Motion Pictures Practitioners Association of Nigeria President and veteran Bolaji Amusan, also known as Lansi, has weighed in on the disturbing video of colleague Akim Adeyemi. He reacted to the disturbing Video of a junior colleague Akim Adeyemi, who was injured by area boys and is set in Lagos State. Nalatin, in an exclusive chat with newsmen, expressed displeasure as he condemned the attack. He added that the meetings were ongoing with the Inspector General of Police, Usman Babato, to prevent future occurrences. Now, the official Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer has been released, providing the first look at the franchise's new Beast Wars characters. The 7th installment in the Transformers movie franchise is taking the story in a new directions after Bumblebee. Let's take a look.
Yeah, it was all a dream.
Down. I'm not the one to fear, Prime. There is a darkness coming.
And that's all on News Live, but before we go, let's take a recap of the headlines. Senate threatens ministries, departments and agencies with zero allocation. Nigerians' oil production climbs to 1.6 million barrels per day plus. China loosens strict COVID-19 restrictions. Many thanks for watching. I am Joy Malik. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Good night.